Now let's take a few minutes and look at what the masters did when they signed their work. This is actually a lot of fun. You can learn a lot about the masters themselves. And pay attention because I'm going to ask you to do the very same thing at the end of this lecture. Almost all of the signatures that you're going to see here were found on the website of the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. Their website is wonderful because you can click on the master's painting that you want to see and then zoom all the way in, usually, to get a close-up look at the painting. And so let's go through the ones I found, and we'll make some observations about how they signed their work. First of all, we didn't really start to see signatures until about the 1400s, which is during the Renaissance and the development of oil painting. But by the 1600s, as I was browsing, it seemed like they were not afraid to place their signatures in open spaces, such as this piece by Rembrandt. Most masters, however, and most signatures, on the whole, can be found either on the bottom right or on the bottom left of the painting. Sometimes, and it seemed a little more popular in the 1800s, you'll find them in the upper right or the upper left. Some of them were so close to the edge, on the bottom in particular, that it kind of makes you wonder if they cropped the painting image. In this case, it's almost certain. The end of his name actually gets cut off. Now, most signatures are on the front of the painting, but once in a while, the artist would sign on the back. Now, whether that's for personal reasons, maybe that's their style, or they just didn't want to interfere with the image on the front, I can't make estimations there, but you do find masters that sign the back, and it'll say on reverse. Another thing you'll notice is that they use variations on their name. Some artists use their whole name, like you can see here. Some use only their last name. Some use their first name and a last initial. And some only use initials. If we zoom in, you can see some rather messy initials, and interestingly, it looks like he may have wiped off his first attempt. I can't say for sure, but it sure looks like it. It's so human. In fact, sometimes they take those initials and they'll turn them into a symbol. Or they may incorporate the initials into the scene in kind of a clever way, such as this one by Claus, and this one by Raphael. Both Dürer and Whistler created symbols with their initials. Whistler slowly developed his signature into a butterfly and then a very abstract version of his butterfly signature. Often an artist's signature would change over time, but there were many also who didn't. They maintained consistency. Sometimes artists would use a stamp, such as this Atelier stamp for Renoir. Artist signatures vary by their style, too. Some are really scrappy looking. You can tell they're handwritten. When you look at Degas and Corot, they're both pretty rough looking, while others are very elegant, like this one by Huysum. It's almost script. The majority, I would say, are done in block lettering. They usually look like they're made up of single brush strokes, often using capital letters. And then you'll find some that have a really unique look, like this one by Hassan. It just kind of has a stylistic look to it. Artist signatures will vary by other criteria too. For example, they are not always painted in. Sometimes they're scraped in. Look at this example by Mark, who used very impasto paint, so it made his signature, when he scraped it out, even more prominent. Sometimes they blend it into the surroundings. Others will make it very bold. Sometimes they're even almost impossible to find. For example, this one. I literally cannot find it, but it's supposed to be in the lower left. Artists may use large lettering for their name or small lettering. They may use fat or thin lettering. And they may change the value. So if painting their name on a dark background, they may use light paint or dark paint. depending on how obvious they want their signature. I also noticed that masters would sometimes include other information. Very often, their signatures would include the year that the painting was completed. Sometimes they would include the location of the scene. And once in a while, they would write on the front the dedication to the patron or the loved one. This one in particular almost looks like he scraped in his dedication, doesn't it? So we can learn a lot about signing our work by observing what the masters did. Therefore, I'd like you to do what I just did. First, get on the National Gallery of Art website, nga.gov, and at the top, click on Collection. And then on the drop-down menu, click on Search the Collection. At this point, what I did was click the word Paintings in the upper right. This brings you to a new page. On the left, click on Display Filters. Go down to Time Span and type in the years that you're interested in viewing. Signatures are a little more common after 1600. Once the site limits your search, you can scroll down and click on additional pages. When you see an image you like, click on it, and then if there's a magnifying glass icon under the picture, that means you can zoom in. But you may also want to scroll down. Look for a tab titled Inscription on the left. If it's there, click on it and it'll tell you if the artist signed the piece or even added text to the painting. Then when you zoom in, you'll be able to see the signature yourself. It's actually a lot of fun. Be aware that not all images will zoom in when you click on them, and you won't really know until you're on the page. So go ahead and try this at home, and also see the attached handout for an additional activity. In the next lecture, we'll talk about naming your art.